We had an interview for the film last week. So Shailene Woodley produces and stars in an adaptation of a true story about a young woman lost at sea following a devastating storm. She's gone out on a boat with her partner, her fiancé. And the beginning of the film, and the film plays out in two different time frames. We start with her waking up in the boat on her own, and then looking out and seeing a lifeboat. And then we flash back to how these characters got here, and the two time frames intertwine. And it all builds up to the end of one narrative is the beginning of the other narrative, the moment at which the wreck happens.
Mayday, mayday, this is the sailing yacht Hazana. Does anyone copy? Hello? Our last recorded position was 129 degrees west and latitude 12 north. Does anyone copy? Hello? Mayday! Mayday! Is anybody there? There's my fiance. Her boat is sinking. Mayday!
So Shailene Woodley as Tami Oldham, and Sam Claflin is the thing as Richard Sharp, and he was on the programme last week. It's one of those survival films. You know when you're going in, it's going to be a story of a shipwreck and people having to go up against insurmountable odds. So you sort of know to some extent where you're going to be. Some people have compared it to that Robert Redford vehicle, All Is Lost, which is kind of inevitable. And I thought at one point when I was watching it, this is a compliment, incidentally, that it reminded me of White Squall. Do you remember the Ridley Scott film, White Squall?
I didn't see that.
Okay, but it had at the time the most unbelievable capsizing of a ship I had ever seen. And I think that the stuff, this is directed by Balzar Comica, who of course actually knows how to put this stuff together. And so I'm quite scared of boats in distress anyway, because that's an idea that really does terrify me, being lost and alone at sea. However, weirdly enough, the thing that it put me in mind of, and I don't know whether this happened for you as well, was it reminded me more tonally of that Reese Witherspoon film Strayed. Do you remember that? Because it had a similar sort of... You remember Strayed?
Is that the one where she is...
Yes, when she walks...
On her own...
She walks the Pacific Trail.
Takes her toenails off. That one.
Yes, well, they're more. That's not how I would have summed the film up, but yes, but it's because she's our central character. It's through her eyes that you see this story, and it is about a sort of tale of endurance and coming to. And I just thought, in terms of the tone of the movie, although they couldn't be more different. One of them set on land, one of them set on water. They completely different scenarios, and yet they had that central character having to overcome extraordinary odds, but done in a way which I thought tonally they made an interesting kind of double bill. There are some moments in the film that won't necessarily work for everyone. I mean, if you think, for example, of... We were talking recently, I don't want to give any plot spoilers, we were talking recently about a Charlize Theron movie in which I said there is a moment in which something happens in which you'll either buy it or you won't buy it. And the drama which moves back and forth from the present and the past and looking forward to the future also has a similar kind of twist in it that actually I thought they got away with. I enjoyed it more than I thought, and I did find that sense of being lost at sea particularly grueling. And I thought Shailene Woodley did a terrific job of looking like she was really holding it together. And from what Sam Claflin said, I mean, there was a certain amount of physical endurance involved in making the film.